Good morning, online friends. चलिए So guys, a very quick recap. Good morning, guys. A very quick recap. What all topics? Just list out the topics that we had covered in the last lecture, bete. Formal and informal sector, work from home, and race and ethnicity, which I suspect we had only covered race and we were yet to discuss ethnicity. ठीक है. Tell me about the informal sector. What is it? Okay. Is she right? No. Those establishments in which workers are less than 10 in number, they're not regulated by the laws, unregistered, no social security, wonderful for the workforce. Okay? So that is an overall this thing of the informal sector. How does globalization affect informality? Labor laws dilute ho rahe hain because of globalization to attract MNCs, wonderful. इनफॉर्मेलिटी बढ़ रही है या घट रही है? हमारा ओवरऑल असेसमेंट क्या था? बढ़ रही है. It is increasing. Absolutely wonderful. Tell me, what is race? बिल्कुल. Human beings. Blumenbach to one of the numerous theorists who has divided the human population into distinct races. Race होती क्या है? A classification of human beings into distinct categories based on biological or physical characteristics, या what we call phenotypical traits. ठीक है? Wonderful. And this, what is scientific racism? Very well. So yes, it is the extension of the argument that not only are people physically different, do they look different, but they are also different in terms of their moral and intelligent standing, right? So a kind of a hierarchy of populations or races was created, assuming that some are more capable, somewhat morally superior than others. This is called what? Scientific racism. Can you give me some applications of scientific racism, Bitya? IQ level, okay, it was, or IQ tests were used to buttress that argument, make that argument that, see, these are not some sort of biases, but these are scientifically proven based on empirical. And then this racist mindset was used to justify exploitative arrangements like colonization, slavery in the West, like in USA, apartheid in South Africa. This is till where we have covered. I'm just taking up a student's doubt. I've joined classes a little late and attended 12 classes till now, facing problem in PYQs, because the PVQs are dealt in separate session. If you could, it will be more convenient if you can discuss the same as and when the topics are completed in the class, at least micro theme wise. Ujjwal, I will dwell on your suggestion, but I don't promise to, work on it, very frankly. So that is that. He was suggesting that we should take up PYQs, along with the class lectures, rather than, en block at a later this thing. The reason also I take them en block rather than with every session is, one session is very little that we are able to cover in a topic. So, and sometimes even partial. You need knowledge spanning several lectures to be able to, or when a whole unit is completed, we will be better placed, you and I both, to address and understand the demand and how to approach the PYQs. So that is one of the reasons that I'm a little hesitant in, accepting your suggestion, Bete. In any case, we do take up doubts regarding, conceptually, if anything is not understood or there's any gap. Good morning, Rahul. So I hope that addresses it. I'll nevertheless give it another thought, but that is my first frank reaction to your suggestion. Any other doubts, guys? Anything? Online, offline? Bitya. Okay. So the question asked is, what is the difference between hierarchy and stratification? I would say that for now meaning in paper 1, let us use the two terms interchangeably. Or let me put it this way, stratification is a hierarchical arrangement of social groups. Okay, let me now, what should I say? Elaborate a bit on the difference now that it has been asked. Stratification means a system of hierarchical arrangement of social groups. When we place social groups one above the other in terms of different amounts of power, prestige, and paisa that their members possess, that's a stratification system. Okay? Hierarchy is a somewhat broader term. In the sense, it can be used in context other than a stratification system. Stratification ho gaye, systems like class is a stratification system. Caste is a stratification system. Patriarchy or gender-based hierarchy is a stratification system. In all of these, what do you have? Social groups arranged in a hierarchical fashion. So these are what? Stratification systems. Hierarchy can be in other ways. For example, within an organization, you may have an hierarchy. Like in a bureaucracy, you have the secretary, additional secretary, joint secretary, deputy secretary, under secretary, section officer. That's what? That is also a hierarchy. But is that a stratification system? No. We will not use the word stratification system for a hierarchy of persons within an organization. Some analysts believe that in the West, the society has now progressed to, it is not anymore a stratified kind of a society. In the sense, in the West, no more do you have social groups arranged hierarchically. Instead, in the West, now you have a hierarchy in the society. Meaning what? There is a continuous gradation of individuals, one above the other, rather than social groups one above the other. Are you with me? You have a hierarchy of individuals. So this is what, in other words, I am earning 10,000 rupees, you are earning 11,000, she is earning 12,000, 13,000, 14,000, each of us. So we don't constitute a class per se. There is a hierarchy or a hierarchical gradation of individuals. I hope that somewhat addresses it. Atirek, we can say hierarchy is a broader term than stratification. Stratification is one, he's asking, can we say stratification is a broader concept? I would say hierarchy is a broader term. Stratification means when social groups are arranged hierarchically. Okay? Can we use Merton's reference group concept in social mobility? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So individuals aspire to be better, richer, like other people, right? Bitya. When inequalities are considered legitimate, it constitutes a hierarchy. I am unable to appreciate the rationale of it standalone. Maybe if you show me the passage, it may make better sense, though I doubt it. ठीक है? Couple of problems in your articulation. She's saying in a bureaucracy, what did you say? That in a bureaucracy, there is a legally accepted gradation of positions. So it is an inequality which is considered as legal or legitimate, and therefore it is a hierarchy. Awal, you are mixing legality and legitimacy. In any case, let us say that people who are subjected to the authority, they consider it legit also. Okay? In the absence of legality or legitimacy, does the hierarchy not exist? For example, in caste hierarchy, constitution lays down, laws lays down that people irrespective or across caste, they are equal. Legally, theoretically, we are all equal. But in the society, does a caste-based hierarchical system exist? Very much so. So I'm not able to make sense of this statement or accept it. 1 second, Bitya. Can you explain social closure mentioned in Sangwan? I am not sure which context you are talking about, but one way of understanding social closure means, not permitting outsiders to enter into a social group. That is, I presume, or just see, Atrek, if it makes sense in that context, the way I'm explaining it. For example, several social groups maintain social closure by not marrying those who do not belong to that same social background, like caste. So perhaps it is that, Atrek. I'll just come to you, Vidya. Self and society are twin born. Analyze the statement of Mead. It's a little off track, so allow me to take it up some other time. We will, but Bitya, last out. No, I will not even repeat that sentence, lest it confuse others even more. Allow me to now proceed. Okay? Chaliye. So we have discussed race. I'll take up your doubt, beta, in the break or after the class also. We have discussed race. Now, as perhaps we had also discussed somewhat or touched upon in the last lecture, the notion of race as a scientific classification of the human population was discredited when the Jews in Nazi Germany were subjected to the Holocaust, right? That is when the concept of race, acquired a bad name, so to speak. So the West, which itself had verily used the concept of race, racial superiority to justify colonialism, etc., etc., they found the concept of race or racial hierarchy as now problematic. So conceptually, there was a shift away from talking in terms of races to talking in terms of ethnicities, ethnic groups. So the West started shunning racial classification and began talking in terms of ethnicity, ethnic groups. Pooja and Aryan, I'll take up your doubts maybe some later time, bete, not just now. Allow me to proceed. Now, the UNESCO, right, that came out with a categorical statement. In fact, a couple of versions of that statement spanning, or what should I say, divided by a decade or so, wherein they denounced the idea of racial superiority and inferiority. This UNESCO statement, UNESCO, you understand, right? UN arm. So UNESCO statement signed by several world leaders, educationists, philosophers, spanning across, countries and cultures. There were some Indian signatories also. And basically what this statement argued, that we cannot consider that, those who look different in terms of physical attributes, whom we consider, say, whites and blacks, they look different. But that is not to suggest that they are also different in terms of their intellectual or mental endowments. हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि जो अलग अलग दिखते हैं वो अलग अलग बुद्धि भी उनको भगवान ने दी है, विदाउट भगवान, राइट? और in other words, people cannot be considered as, intellectually superior or inferior because they belong to a certain race. This document, it was called the race question. The race question. It particularly emphasized that people of all races are who? Human beings. And as human beings, they are entitled to equal dignity, equal respect, certain basic rights. You don't have like more human and less human. You can't say whites are more human compared to XYZ race. Are you with me? So all human beings are equal in terms of dignity, in terms of their basic rights, and in terms of innate capabilities or intelligence. Can we then say people are not different? What is UNESCO suggesting here? Is it saying that blacks and whites are not different? You need to be bluntly blind to even suggest that. How can you deny what are, very in your face kind of differences between populations? It's not saying people are not different. It's saying people are different, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is saying that differences are not due to some genetic or biological factors. Differences in between populations are more due to social and cultural factors. In other words, blacks have a different culture than whites. Happy Rakhi, Monmouth, and everybody else. Differences between populations are more cultural. So Africa ka culture alag hai than Europe ka culture, which is different than South Asia ka culture. Don't overemphasize upon the physical attributes. That cannot be or should not be the basis of classifying human populations. So there is no race which is innately inferior or superior. People belong to, and from this arose the concept of ethnicity, या ethnic groups. Ethnic group क्या होता है? It's a group which is culturally distinct, which sees itself as one community based on some cultural attributes. So blacks का एक distinct culture है. In other words, blacks are not a race. Blacks are an ethnic group. Whites are an ethnic group. Even people who look similar, और पुरानी भाषा का इस्तेमाल करें, who belong to the same race, they may belong to different ethnic groups. For example, in the Indian subcontinent, Hindus and Muslims, do they look different in terms of their physical features? And I'm not talking about the mullah dadi or some such, or the tilak, right? Which are all very, very, these are not any, these are cultural markers. I keep a dadi as a mullah because it's an expression of my Muslim identity, right? Or as a Sikh. But otherwise, do Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs look different or same? क्या इसी आपके सामने कोई व्यक्ति खड़ा हुआ बता पाएंगे हिंदू है, मुसलमान है या सिख है या ईसाई है? भारतीय खड़ा हो तो नहीं बता पाएंगे ना. तो they are not different races. Does that mean Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs are all the same? There are no differences between Hindus and Muslims. There are very clear cultural differences. Puja paddhati alag hai. They have a different, Muslims have a different mode of worship than Hindus do. So many things are different. So ऐसा नहीं है differences नहीं है, but differences social या cultural हैं, ना कि biological और racial. ठीक? So any community which sees itself as one, as belonging together because of some shared element of culture, is an ethnic group. Does this definition of ethnicity seem to be strongly overlapping with another definition which or concept we have discussed earlier? Nation. Absolutely. It seems to be very overlapping with our understanding of what a nation is. The two are very closely linked. As you remember, if you remember, we had discussed that in Europe, after the Treaty of Westphalia, states or the political map was somewhat reorganized because of the emergence of nation states, which were based on a common culture or ethnicity, right? Then we had discussed that nations can be of two types: ethnic nations and civic nations. So ethnic nations kya hai? Which are based on a common ethnic or cultural background. So the two are very overlapping. If I must have to draw a distinction between the two, I will say that ethnicity is about a shared social and cultural identity. Nation, when based on ethnicity, is the political expression, the desire for self-determination, self-rule of a people who share a similar background. Theek? Are you with me? So conceptually, the idea of nation has a very clear political element. The notion of ethnicity is not definitionally political. Clear? So India is a land of many ethnic groups. Are you with me? Yani different cultures hai na, simply. People who belong to, so you have ethnic group formation along the lines of religion, caste, linguistic identity. ठीक है? तो उड़िया भी एक ethnicity है और कन्नडिगा भी एक ethnicity है. ब्राह्मण भी एक ethnicity है, बनिया भी एक ethnicity है. Yes or no? हिंदू भी ethnicity है, मुसलमान भी ethnicity है. Clear? So ये होती है ethnicity. Now, I'm being asked to repeat the difference between between nation and ethnicity. I will say the two are very, very closely related concepts. If I must draw a fine distinction between the two, it is that the notion of ethnicity is primarily social and cultural. Yani emphasis is on a shared culture. When we use the term nation, the context is far more clearly political. So, the feeling of nationalism that we talk of. That means that we who constitute or who belong, who have a same type of culture, we must shape our own political destiny. So that is that, Millie. Now, one, क्या बोलते हैं, way of thinking has been that, ethnicity, ethnic identities are a thing of the past. Ethnic groups, ethnic identities, ethnicity is a thing of the past. Why past? Because, as a society modernizes, or as say West has modernized, ethnic identities become unimportant. Which identity becomes salient? Which is a modern identity? Your class identity. आपकी जेब में कितना पैसा है ये मैटर करता है. आप हिंदू हो, ब्राह्मण हो, क्या जात हो, ये सब नहीं मैटर करता इन अ मॉडर्न सोसाइटी. वो चल. So what is one line of argument? That ethnicity is now, ethnicity doesn't matter anymore. Who cares about what is your mode of worship or what, caste you belong to, etc. What matters today is money in a person's pocket. So class identity is the most salient. Ethnic identity has lost its importance in the modern world. ठीक? Yes or no? Why no? मणिपुर में क्या देखा हमने? Ethnic conflicts या clashes between Kukis and Meiteis. आप कहोगे ये तो पिछले जंगली हबशी क्राइम टाइप ऑफ लोग हैं, मतलब हम सब इंडियंस एज अ क्लास फ्रॉम अ वेस्टर्नर्स पर्सपेक्टिव. सो आप इजराइल पैलेस्टीन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट उठा के देख लीजिए. यस और नो? व्हाट इज लिटरली so much raging artillery and warfare, destruction because of ethnic differences. Jews are a classic example of an ethnic nation, Israel, or of the Jewish people. Likewise, so the clash is, it's not so much between the state of Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Army. It is a clash between the Jewish nation and the Palestinian nation, right? Between these different ethnic groups. So point is that ethnicity is not dead or immaterial even in the present times. It continues to play a very important role in our lives across the globe today. Whether it is in terms of ethnic conflicts that she rightly highlighted, or it could be in terms of ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing. Any examples crop to the mind? Holocaust is a thing of the past, or it's been a while. Any more recent, in more recent public memory, any ethnic cleansing? Rohingyas in Myanmar and Uyghur Muslims in China, or कौन? रशिया यूक्रेन इज नॉट अ एथनिक क्लेंजिंग के बारे में हम एग्जांपल्स की बात कर रहे हैं, जहां पे एक डोमिनेंट पॉपुलेशन ने किसी स्मॉलर ग्रुप को मिटा सा दिया हो. बालोच पीपल इन बीइंग परसिक्यूटेड इन पाकिस्तान. हाँ, बांग्लादेश में हिंदू माइनॉरिटीज. So point is, we have ample examples of ethnic cleansing in the present times, ethnic conflicts in the present times. Ethnic identity also serves as a very important axis of political mobilization. It greatly affects our political life immensely. For example, in India, lot of Indian politics, now theoretically, conceptually, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, our political system is quite modern, in the sense we have, modern vehicles of democratic politics, like क्या बोलते हैं आप, political parties, regular elections, election commission, etc., etc. We have all the modern institutions, but they operate within the context of ethnic identity. So you see in Indian politics mobilization along the lines of caste. Caste क्या है? Ethnic identity. Mobilization along the lines of language. Mobilization along the lines of religious identity. Yes or no? Tribal identity. Absolutely. Ethnic identity is also an important source of or basis of secessionist movements. Secessionism. Secession means, demanding separation from the union, that you want to establish a separate country. Are you with me? For example, any from India. So Kashmiri separatists, Greater Naga Limb बोलते हैं, Greater Naga Limb movement. They want to establish, a separate country for the Naga population from Indian Nagaland, neighboring states, and the neighboring bordering countries, हाँ, जिनके टेरिटरी में नागा लोग बसे हैं. और इंडिया के ही बताओ मुझे, खालिस्तान डिमांड, एब्सोल्युटली, है ना. ये सारी क्या है? Secessionist movements and based on ethnic identity and differences. Also, please appreciate, friends, in our society and many parts of the world, you see strong anti-migrant sentiment based on ethnic differences along ethnic lines. Anti-migrant sentiment. Arpita is asking me to share an example of politics, ethnic mobilization in politics. For example, you have various political parties. We won't write names, but we have the BJP mobilizing the Hindus, right? Politically, a party like All India AIMIM claiming to represent Indian Muslims. You have caste-based political mobilization by parties like Bahujan Samaj Party claiming to represent the scheduled castes, or a particular, the Chamar community from Uttar Pradesh particularly, right? So you have caste-based or Samajwadi Party for Yadavs, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, regarding or mobilizing for around tribal identity. Numerous, yeah. And yes, in our vivid imagination, the All India Jat Mahasabha. Right? Akali Dal claiming to speak for the Sikhs, and so on. क्या बात कर रहे थे before this? हाँ, anti-migrant sentiment. Like the क्या US शिवसेना पिटाई करती है जो in Mumbai. Yes or no? Yes or no? So it sees what it derogatorily terms as bhaiyas from UP and Bihar, as a distinct ethnic group who are not a part of the Marathi Manus, right? And therefore they are seen as labeled as criminals or this or that. यूरोप में आप देखो तगड़ा एंटी, यूएस में आप देखो, यूएस has been literally founded by migrants. उनकी नेटिव पॉपुलेशन तो उन्होंने हटा ही दी, खुद सारे गोरे जो हैं माइग्रेंट्स हैं, बट उनको माइग्रेंट्स अब चुभ रहे हैं, मुसलमान माइग्रेंट्स, है ना। जापान में क्या हुआ अगेंस्ट मुस्लिम्स। तो ये सब क्या है, अ वेरी क्लियर expression of ethnic identity, ethnic highlighting of ethnic differences, which point out to the continued relevance of ethnicity, ethnic groups, ethnic identities in today's times. There are two theoretical explanations of ethnicity. दो theoretical explanations हैं ethnicity की. एक है which sees ethnic groups as based on primordial identities. Primordialism, primordialist view of ethnicity. Primordial का मतलब होता है प्राचीनतम, very old, not just old like very very old, like in its old raw kind of form. So what this primordialist theory argues, that people are like that. Like what? That people are like, they have a natural affinity towards those who are, we all have a natural affinity towards those who are like us. We have a very natural, innate kind of an affinity or attraction towards those who are like us. Why do we like people who are like us? Because we presumably, perhaps long back in our collective history, but we presumably share ties of blood with them. So जो ethnic groups होते हैं ना, they are kind of an extension of kinship. साफ बात है, तमिल तमिल भाई भाई, हिंदी भाषी भाई भाई. मैं अगर तमिल हूं, आयरॉनिक आई एम सेइंग दिस इन हिंदी, बट अगर मैं तमिल हूं, देन मेरे रिश्तेदार कौन है, मेरे एंसेस्टर्स कौन है, गोइंग बैक 10 whatever generations, मेरे ancestors कौन थे? We've always been so Tamil. How can I not like fellow Tamils? And you, Hindi speakers, if I cannot even communicate with you, क्या खाक I will like you or forge a sense of bonding and brotherhood with you? नहीं. तो साफ बात है, क्या बोलते हैं वो अंग्रेजी में, birds of a feather flock together. Yes or no? And human beings have always, throughout history, कोई नई चीज नहीं है ये, we've always given a lot of importance to blood ties. क्योंकि खून खून होता है. Yes or no? पानी नहीं होता है, हाँ पानी से कहीं ज्यादा होता है. So खून का रिश्ता, nothing can replace this खून का रिश्ता. Ethnic groups are an extension of or based on what? खून का रिश्ता. Have you seen this? That people get attracted to their own kind? Very common. Very common. So you will see, while I was doing this thing, masters, our college had a lot of, the college owners, they were Bengali. So a lot of students were Bengali. They used to specifically go to Kolkata to pick students. And the campus was in Delhi, right? And there were very few people from other parts of the country. And when a Bengali and a Bengali get together, oh my, can't tell you. It's like Durga Pujo. It's like a veritable festival of Bengali or celebration of Bengali identity. You'll feel so left out. They'll start chattering in their Bengali, and they couldn't care less. Right? So साफ बात है, Bengali किससे attract होगा? हरियाणवी से? Never. Right? क्योंकि Bengali भाई भाई. This is the primordialist view of ethnicity. In stark contrast to this view, may I continue, or you guys are jotting down something? Dare you write in your answers? I should not see anything written like Bengali bhai bhai. Okay? Are you guys jotting down anything, or may I proceed? Proceed. In stark contrast to the primordialist view of ethnicity is the instrumentalist view of ethnicity. Instrumentalist view क्या कहता है? These ethnic groups, they are not based on any ties of blood. कोई खून का रिश्ता नहीं होता इसमें. कोई खून का रिश्ता नहीं होता. प्राचीनतम भी नहीं है ये. They are not primordial or based on some, very base, elementary kind of a prachin identity. Ethnic group formation is a very current phenomenon. It's happening now as we speak. So I, an individual, can assume several ethnic identities. Which of them I assume depends on my needs. Depends on my needs. What is the context? And very importantly, who is the other? मुझे किससे भिड़ना है? उस पे निर्भर करेगा कि मेरी कौन सी ethnic identity becomes the commanding or the overarching one, the decisive one. For example, if the issue at hand is what should, is about demanding reservation, then my caste identity will come to the fore. But if the issue at hand is the construction of a Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, then my Hindu identity. So I'll forget I am a Baniya or a Brahmin or a Jat or a Gujar, and my Hindu identity will come to the fore. Why? Because now my adversary is who? The Muslim. तो अगर मेरा दुश्मन मुसलमान है तो मैं हिंदू हूं. अगर मेरा दुश्मन ऊंची नीची जात के लोग हैं तो मैं बनिया हूं. अगर मेरा दुश्मन तमिल या कन्नड़ी का स्पीकर है तो मैं हिंदी भाषी हूं. Yes or no? So ethnic identity is not fixed. It depends on the socio-political context. What is it that I want to, or we as a collectivity want to achieve? How the issue is framed. Who is perceived as the enemy or the adversary? LGBTQIA+. Do these groups come under instrumentalist view? No, it is not an ethnic identity. Your sexual orientation is not an ethnic identity. Your class position is not an ethnic identity. Your occupation, कि doctor है, teacher है, accountant है, this is not an ethnic identity. ठीक है? बंगाली हो या उड़िया हो या XYZ कास्ट हो ये सब है ट्राइबल आइडेंटिटी, ये होती है एथनिक आइडेंटिटीज। हाँ, जो एक शेयर्ड कल्चर लाइक लैंग्वेज, रिलीजन वगैरह पे बेस्ड होती है। ठीक है, सो एथनिक लाइंस, ethnic boundaries are fluid. According to this instrumentalist view, ethnic boundaries are fluid. They are continuously drawn and redrawn depending on the socio-political context. सो एथनिक आइडेंटिटीज जो हैं कोई फिक्स्ड और प्राइमोडियल नहीं है। एथनिक आइडेंटिटीज डायनेमिक है, मल्टीपल है, एंड दीज आर बीइंग कंटिन्यूअसली नेगोशिएटेड in the social context. ठीक, so that is about race and ethnicity. Moving on, I will also use with a I will also share with you a useful concept or tool which which comes in quite handy while writing questions on social stratification. Okay, since we are at it, talking about race and ethnicity which are covered under stratification, let me also introduce you to the idea of intersectionality. Intersectionality. Intersectionality क्या होती है? It's got nothing, or it's not specifically confined to race and ethnicity. Okay, what it simply means, friends, none of us has a single identity. We have multiple overlapping identities. So the experience of each person will depend on where those intersections take place. Let me reframe this in another way. For example, the feminist movement, what it seeks to achieve? Equal rights for women. When it tries to address various problems of women. So it treats women as one social category. That these are women's problems. They lack access to education, physical violence, lack of gainful employment. These are all framed as women's problems. But this is very problematic, according to intersectionality theorists. What they would argue, all women are not similarly situated. It's not just your gender identity which will determine what kind of social situations you encounter, what kind of discriminations you face, what kind of disprivileges you have to deal with. Are you with me? Why? Because there are multiple axes, multiple bases of stratification, or multiple bases upon which people are deprived of this or that. In other words, intersectionality theorists would argue that the problems of rich women are very different from the problems of poor women. Both are women. As women, they both may face some common challenges as well, no denying that. But the lived experience, the everyday life of a poor woman is very different from a rich woman. The poor woman is doubly disadvantaged. The rich woman has to face patriarchy. because she is a woman. The poor woman, on the other hand, has to bear the double brunt of patriarchy and poverty. Mind you, all poor women, their life experiences are also not the same. A poor upper caste woman will have different experiences than a poor Dalit woman. Are you with me? Multiple identities intersect and affect what problems we face. Not all poor Dalit women also a single coherent homogeneous category. The problems of a poor Dalit lesbian woman are quite different than the challenges encountered by a poor Dalit straight woman. And one can go on and on and on. And you must be wondering, kahin to atkoge. But you really, there are so many multiple bases of deprivation. Not all poor Dalit lesbian women have the same problems, mind you. A poor Dalit lesbian, poor bol diya to rich kaise? Disabled woman will have different problems than a poor Dalit blah blah able-bodied woman. Yes or no? All of this coupled with living in rural area will have a different set of problems than a similarly situated lady in an urban setting. And this kind of a person, even in a rural area, who has converted to Islam, will have a different set of problems than who is within the Hindu fold or has converted to Buddhism. उसको इस्लामोफोबिया भी डील करना पड़ेगा बेचारे को, है ना? So it's no laughing matter, right? The whole, it's a very, very serious concept which highlights how our, so each of us lies at the intersection of these different axes of discrimination and disprivilege. That is why the term intersectionality. हम कहाँ उस intersections पे lie कर रहे हैं? That is what determines our life experiences. So, for example, क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? The feminist movement in India. They were advocating for gender equality, championing women's rights, ये नहीं होना चाहिए, वो नहीं होना चाहिए, सती बैन करो, विधवाओं को, blah blah, all the works. हाँ, बाहर जाने की आजादी, डाउरी वाउरी में बंद मत करो. They came under strong protest from Dalit women. They said, Sati is not our problem, bro. In the sense, it is kind of an upper caste cultural thing. It doesn't affect Dalit women. हमारे यहाँ डाउरी का कल्चर नहीं है, हमें तो मजदूरी करनी पड़ती है, ये हमारी प्रॉब्लम है. हमारे तो दलित वुमेन, पुअर दलित वुमेन के गैंग रेप्स हो जाते हैं बाय अपर कास्ट मैन, वो प्रॉब्लम है. Are you with me? So the feminist movement in India, mainstream feminist movements in India were seen as being dominated by Savarn or upper caste women. So these guys were like, yeah, तुम तो हमारी बात ही नहीं करते. Similarly, these Dalit women, they also had a grudge against the Dalit movement in India. क्यों? Dalit movement जो है वो mostly controlled by and articulating the concerns of Dalit men है. So autonomous Dalit women's organizations sprang up sometime in 1990s and onwards. Are you with? तो ये इशू है, कॉन्सेप्ट है इंटरसेक्शनलिटी का. हमारी डिफरेंट आइडेंटिटीज, डिफरेंट बेसिस ऑफ deprivation या stratification, they intersect, producing unique experiences. ठीक? ये कॉन्सेप्ट दिया था किम्बरले क्रेनशॉ ने. She had first developed it in the context of highlighting how the problems of black women in the US are different from the problems of white women. quite like I drew the caste parallel because that is somewhat more relatable. That the feminist movement in the US was hijacked by, dominated, or controlled by basically articulating the concerns of white women. But the problems of black women are of another kind. They have to doubly bear sexism, misogyny on the one hand being women, also racism. And even black men don't have the same kind of life experiences which black women have. Are you with me? Quite like how Dalit men don't have the same experiences like Dalit women have. For example, Dalit men won't get raped by upper caste men. They won't be stripped and made to walk through naked through a village like Dalit women have been subjected to. Are you with me? Clear? So this concept basically helps us to, develop a more nuanced, a more contextualized understanding of deprivation. ठीक है? चलिए, moving on now to the agenda of the day. This was only, we were like wrapping up the last topic. And what we will discuss today is, in my considered opinion, possibly the most difficult set of topics that we'll be covering in sociology course. So please pay attention. जिसको मुंह धो के आना है मुंह धो लीजिए, ठीक है? You will need to be very alert and this thing. What you want to break, like a mini break? Okay, it's a 2 minutes thing. 2 minutes break, brother. Two minutes break, guys. Friends, please settle down. Online, offline, both. Now we are moving towards discussing sociological research. Sociological research. In this, we have to do several things. We have to discuss how research takes place, by doing sampling, collecting data, all of that. We'll come to that later. First, we discuss major theoretical strands of research methodology. For this, a handout has been shared with you in the last lecture. Please refer to that extensively. Major theoretical strands of research methodology. If I may request you, don't jot down too much, because it slows us down both. And I want to, complete the topic, do full justice to it, but today, and by 2 p.m. I don't want to extend beyond that, okay, because there's something I need to attend to after that. Theek? So there are two broad major theoretical strands of research methodology. Two major theories. One is what are called as structural theories. The other are what can be termed as social action theories or approaches. Somewhere or the other, you are acquainted with them. I'm only putting them in context. Structural theories क्या होती हैं? Which contend that the society has a definitive structure. अर्थात there is a well laid out arrangement of the various parts of the society. Society में things are not arbitrary, haphazard, random. There is a proper arrangement of the various parts of the social structure. ठीक है? Social action theories, on the other hand, contend that there is not a very clear, fixed, clearly, outlined kind of or a very well-defined structure. Then what society comprises of? Social actions. According to social action theories, society is basically created by people's social actions. दोनों theories acknowledge करती हैं social action को. But according to structural theorists, social action, यानी what an individual does, is shaped by the structure or determined by the structure. मैं क्या करूंगा डिपेंड करेगा सामाजिक व्यवस्था पे. Individual social actions are shaped by, determined by the social structure. So the individual per se, according to structural theories, is unimportant. He does not take any decisions per se. Everything for him is determined by society. He is being simply, plugged in to the society. Are you with me? Social action theories, on the other hand, क्या कहती हैं कि नहीं, the individual has agency. He decides. His actions are not completely governed by the social structure. Can you think of any structural theories which see the individual's actions as being largely shaped by a well laid out social structure? Functionalism is a structural theory, because according to functionalism, the individual behaves as per the norms and values of the society. Those norms and values are inculcated in the individual through the process of socialization. Various agents of social control ensure that the individual conforms to the expectations or the laid down roadmap by the society. इंडिविजुअल कुछ नहीं करता, जो समाज ने तय किया है. तो समाज ने एक टीचर को कैसे करना है वो तय किया है, मैं सिंपली वो कर रहा हूं. समाज ने एक फादर को कैसे करना है वो तय किया है, मैं सिंपली वो कर रहा हूं. सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. अकॉर्डिंग टू विच थ्योरीज? स्ट्रक्चरल थ्योरीज. Another structural theory with which you are reasonably well acquainted, but very different from functionalism, is Marxism. Marxism के हिसाब से भी the individual is what he does is shaped by the wider social or specifically economic forces. तो मैं क्या करूंगा depends on my class. Yes or no? The society has a well-defined structure with the economy at the base and the various other social institutions at the superstructure. But the actions of the individual are shaped by the social arrangements. ठीक? In very stark contrast, social action approaches see the individual as very important. Very important. Important in the sense it is he or she who decides what's to be done, how it's to be done. And the actions of one individual may greatly vary from the other individual. Because individuals have agency. Individuals have free will. Individuals have control over what they do. So it is the actions of the individual which shape the social structure. ये क्या है? Social action approaches. Social action approaches आ जाती हैं, for example, Shri Max Weber. On the social action side, the biggest Shri will be Max Weber, right? Or the most respected in the sense will be Max Weber. And what shapes social actions according to these guys? What does the nature of the action depend on? The meanings, motivations, feelings of the actor. तो मैं कुछ कर रहा हूं और दूसरा बंदा भी वही कर रहा है, उसका मीनिंग अलग हो सकता है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन माय वेरियस फैक्टर्स एंड हिज. यस और नो? नो वॉइस? ऑनलाइन फ्रेंड्स, प्लीज कंफर्म. Am I clearly audible? Please type yes. I should be. Online friends, please confirm. I'm clearly audible, Pooja, to everybody else. So please plug in your tar more properly. ठीक है? Social action approaches में आ जाती है मैक्स वेबर की इंटरप्रेटिव सोशियोलॉजी. इसमें आ जाती है जीएच मीड की सिंबॉलिक इंटरैक्शनिस्ट अप्रोच. इसमें आ जाती है हर्बर्ट नहीं, स्पेंसर नहीं, ब्लूमर की सिंबॉलिक इंटरैक्शनिस्ट अप्रोच. इसमें आ जाती है समथिंग कॉल्ड फिनोमिनोलॉजी एंड एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी, विच वी विल ट्राई टू डिस्कस टुडे. इसमें आ जाती है अर्विंग गॉफमैन की ड्रामाटर्जिकल अप्रोच, विच वी विल ट्राई टू डिस्कस टुडे. ठीक? इन अप्रोचेस के हिसाब से या सोशल एक्शन अप्रोचेस के हिसाब से व्हाट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट, स्ट्रक्चर या एक्शन? एक्शन. एक्शन गिव्स शेप टू द स्ट्रक्चर, नॉट द अदर वे अराउंड. स्ट्रक्चरल थ्योरीज के हिसाब से व्हाट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट? स्ट्रक्चर इज far more important. Which of these two types of approaches will see greater variation in social life? Social action approaches. Which of these two it is but obvious, but which of these are more micro in their level of analysis? Social action approaches, because they focus on the individual and his actions, unlike structural theories which take a big picture or a macro level view of social reality. ठीक? I repeat, so basically it is a contestation between which is more important: structure, which determines the actions of the individual, or the individual who takes independent actions which shape and reshape the social structure. Structuralists mante nahi, structure is all important or more important. The individual doesn't have too much importance. He merely does as per the conditions in the structure. Social action theorists say no, the individual is a free agent. He decides. The structure is an outcome of the actions of individuals. ठीक है? Which of these two approaches will see or will consider that the social reality is objective and can be captured using the scientific method? Structural approaches do so. Structuralists argue what? That there is an objective social reality. We can capture it sufficient number of times empirically, and thereby we can identify the laws that govern social life. So structural approaches prefer the application of the scientific method in research. क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? Social action approaches, on the other hand, they do not see very well-defined patterns governing social life. Far more variability in people's actions, motivations, meanings, everything. So they do not see a very clear, objective reality which can be captured using the scientific method. ठीक? Now there is something called structuration theory. क्या? Structuration theory, which tries to serve as a very, should I say, much needed bridge between structural theories and social action approaches. Structuration theory है एंथनी गिडन्स की. नाम में it seems quite similar to structural theories, but it's a different category in itself. Structuration theory of Anthony Giddens. Giddens कहते हैं, let me settle the debate once and for all. Which of the two is important? Guess what? Both are important. दोनों खुश रहो. So the individual's actions are undoubtedly shaped by the structure. The structure does have an important, the society does have a clearly well laid out structure, definitive structure. But then that structure is also affected by the actions of the individual actors. कौन जीता? दोनों जीते. ठीक है? Tejas is asking a question. Can we say in a situation whether the actor will perform according to structural theory or social action theory will be decided by his psychology in that moment? The answer to that is, I repeat the question, can we say in a situation whether a social actor will perform according to structural theory or social action theory will be decided by his psychology in that moment? कि उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है उस पर निर्भर करता है कि सोशल स्ट्रक्चर है या वो. अगर हम इनकी बात मान लेते हैं कि बंदे की साइकोलॉजी पे निर्भर करता है, then you belong to which camp? Then you belong, Tejasvi, to the social action theory camp. If you are giving decisive importance to the individual psyche, right? If you completely sidestep or ignore the individual motivations and psychological state, you belong to the structural camp. ठीक? चलिए. Now I will be discussing some social action approaches. Functionalism and Marxism, we have some acquaintance with already. These are the major structural approaches. Structuration theory I have only mentioned in passing. It is not specifically mentioned in the syllabus, nor do we have we had PYQs from it in the past. Though it is a, on its own legs, it's an important contribution of Giddens to sociological theory, but हम कितना ही करेंगे. Let's take a pragmatic approach. ठीक? So now moving to some of the social action approaches, starting with dramaturgy. Dramaturgy, friends, is the approach or theory developed by Erving Goffman. Erving Goffman. The root word here is drama. Have you ever been told कि तुम कितना drama करते हो? है ना? I'm sure you have been by parents, friends, whoever. Goffman says कि हम सब drama करते हैं. Literally, every moment, almost every moment of our life. Not every, there are exceptions. I'll come to those also. But by and large, we are all doing what? Drama. In the sense, he compares social life to a stage performance. Have you ever participated in a drama? Any of you? Raise your hands. We all have. पेड़ बने होंगे बेशक, है ना? If not the Raja. Now, drama में क्या होता है? हम क्या कर रहे होते हैं? We are playing a certain role. So in a drama, in a theatrical performance, different people are assigned different roles. आप राजा बनोगे, आप सिपाही बनोगे, आप एडवर्सरी बनोगे, आप संतरी बनोगे, आप मंत्री बनोगे, आप रानी बनोगे, and so on and so forth. These are all different social roles. Sorry, these are all different roles in a drama. Likewise in social life. We all have different roles. Presently, in the present moment, I am playing the role of a teacher. I'm playing the role of a teacher. You are playing the role of a student. Sir, Santri kya hota hai? I mean, that is so besides the point. You are playing the role of a student, a UPSC aspirant. Yes or no? Now, when you participated in those dramas in school or college, क्या करते थे? मुंह उठा के चले जाते थे and would perform on the stage? Yes or no? No. क्या होता था ड्रामा से पहले? बहुत सारी प्रैक्टिस होती थी, रिहर्सल होती थी. आपको अपना रोल कैसे परफॉर्म करना है, एक प्रॉपर मेथोडिकल तरीके से आप उसको अप्रोच करते थे. You don't just get up and start playing the paid, the all important paid, or the Raja, or whatever, right? So there's a lot of practice which is undertaken prior to the performance of the role. Similarly in life, In social life, friends, हम मुंह उठा के नहीं चले आते. We all practice performing our various roles. What is that practice called? What have we been calling it till now? Socialization. What we have been terming as socialization. That is what? Preparing for performing our respective role. And this performance that you deliver is before and क्या करोगे? स्टेज पे चढ़ के ड्रामा करने लगोगे? कौन होना चाहिए? ऑडियंस. ड्रामा हमेशा एक ऑडियंस के समक्ष किया जाता है. Likewise in society, we perform our respective roles before our audiences. So when I'm playing the role of a teacher, who is my audience? Students are my audience. When you are playing the role of the student, who's your audience? Teachers are there, fellow students are there, parents are there. कि मैं दिल्ली में क्या कर रहा हूं? पढ़ाई कर रहा हूं. Yes or no? Okay, so we have an audience. Now we are, when you are on stage performing that drama, you are very conscious of the reactions of the audience. Yes or no? If the audience gradually starts walking out in the middle of the drama, nothing could be worse for a performer. Or if they start, worse still, yawning, sleeping, or throwing things at the stage, you know that it is not being liked by my audience. Instead, if they clap, if they laugh, if they give you a standing ovation, that means your performance has been liked by the audience. So actors are very mindful and continuously responding to the response or the reactions from the audience. Similarly, in our lives, we are very conscious of how our audiences see us, what their reactions are. Are you with me? So as a teacher, if I'm teaching and my students give negative feedback, then I will become alert. I'm not teaching right. Then I'll modify my way of teaching. Yes or no? Or if I see that students particularly respond to a particular mode or manner of teaching, I will do more of it. So as a teacher, I am continuously responding to reactions. किसके reactions? Audience के reactions. Absolutely, Rahul. Rahul has very aptly quoted who? William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage. सुना है ना? उसका हिंदी वर्जन भी है. That guy, what's his name? Anand movie. What's the guy's name? The dead guys? Rajesh Khanna. Rajesh Khanna. The other one refuses to. He's still alive and kicking in old age. Amitabh Bachchan is still alive, na? Rajesh Khanna I was talking about. तो जो राजेश खन्ना की मूवी में नहीं है कि बाबू मोशाय, बंगाली गॉड, बाबू मोशाय हम सब कठपुतलियां हैं, something like that he said, है ना? That was basically a translation of the Shakespeare's this thing. So all men and women, we are what? Actors. और ये मत सोचिए कि मैं टीचर हूं, स्टेज से बोल रहा हूं तो मैं ही एक्टर हूं. हम हर कोई in various roles that we perform, we are actors. Now जो एक्टर होता है वो क्या करता है एक्टिंग से पहले, मतलब स्टेज पे आने से पहले क्या करेगा? हाँ प्रैक्टिस तो करेगा, फिर प्रैक्टिस के बाद मुंह उठा के चला आएगा, प्रैक्टिस के बाद भी कॉस्ट्यूम पहनेगा. इन अदर वर्ड्स, यू मस्ट लुक द पार्ट. You must look the part. अगर आप राजा का रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं in the play, then you will be wearing a मुकुट or a crown. अगर आप पेड़ का रोल अदा कर रहे हैं तो you will be wearing whatever the पेड़ looks like. And अगर आप monk का रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं, you will be wearing the clothes of a monk, and so on and so forth. Similarly, in our lives, we dress for the part that we play. We dress appropriately depending on the role that we have to enact. Yes or no? तो क्योंकि मैं टीचर का रोल प्ले कर रहा हूं, इसलिए आई एम वेयरिंग अ सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ क्लोथ्स. अगर मैं सोल्जर होता तो क्या मैं ये कपड़े पहनता? नहीं, मैं यूनिफॉर्म पहनता. अगर मैं डॉक्टर होता तो क्या मैं यूनिफॉर्म पहनता? नहीं, तो मैं व्हाइट ओवरकोट पहनता. तो ये क्या है? हमारी कॉस्ट्यूम है विच हैज टू बी एज पर दी रोल दैट वी आर परफॉर्मिंग. सिर्फ कॉस्ट्यूम्स ही नहीं है फ्रेंड्स. इन ऑर्डर टू बी फुल्ली look the part, be the part, we also use on stage various, और क्या इस्तेमाल करते हो? props. props use करते हो नहीं करते हो? various things which indicate you are the raja or the xyz. As a raja you will have a sword in your hand. That's a prop. As a rani you will have jewelry and a ghungat. Yes or no? That's the prop. As a bawarchi you will have a karchi, and so on and so forth. These are what? These are props which help you, which help the audience identify who you are. Similarly in social life, टीचर के प्रॉप्स क्या होते हैं? हाँ, पेन होगा, मार्कर होगा, व्हाइट बोर्ड या ब्लैक बोर्ड होगा, चौक होगी पुराने जमाने में, अटेंडेंस रजिस्टर, ये सब क्या है? नोट्स. सुबह लेके ऐसे टीचर ऐसे आता है ना क्लास में अपने नोट्स लेके, क्योंकि ये मेरा प्रॉप है, इससे आपको पता लग गया ये व्यक्ति टीचर है. आर यू विद मी? विच आर वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अ डॉक्टर के प्रॉप्स. अगर मैं डॉक्टर होता तो क्या मैं ऐसे ये पेन लेके घूम रहा होता? क्या लेके घूम रहा होता? स्टेथोस्कोप. दैट वुड हैव टोल्ड यू ये डॉक्टर है. और अगर मैं सोल्जर होता तो क्या मैं स्टेथोस्कोप लेके घूम रहा होता? तो मैं राइफल लेके घूम रहा होता, जिससे आपको पता लग जाता ये आर्मी मैन है. यस और नो? तो जैसे हम स्टेज पे रोल प्ले करते समय वेरियस प्रॉप्स का उपयोग करते हैं, सिमिलरली वी यूज प्रॉप्स इन आवर लाइफ. These are those accompaniments, those tools, etc., which help us look the part. Are you with me? And it's not just about occupational roles, lest you think. ये नहीं है कि teacher, doctor, lawyer, ये सब. We play roles in our family life. Somebody plays the role of a father. Somebody the role of a mother. Somebody the role of a grandparent. Somebody the role of a child. And they have their own respective props. What are the props of a father? What does the father have which makes him fatherly? He has batua. Yes or no? He has car keys. So I am the guy, who can do the vehicle thing. Right? In contrast, what are the props of the mother? What makes the mother so motherly? माँ का क्या होता है? आंचल. What बेलन? So you will see, mother figure is often associated with a dupatta. Yes or no? Hey, मेरे बच्चे को सुला दूंगी, kind of a thing, right? Or she will be, associated with a karchi or a, kitchen utensils, because she has to prepare children's food and husband's food. What are the props of the grandparents? Chashma, steak, the rosary, mala, what? Inhaler. Absolutely. तो ये क्या है? ये props हैं जो हमें अपना respective role. What is the child का props? Toys, bags, books. हाँ, parents ये सुनना चाहेंगे. So these are various props which different, the players of different roles they use to, so that the audience can identify में कि ये कौन है. Also appreciate, क्या पूरे टाइम एक्टिंग करते हो? नहीं. On stage, are you स्कूल प्ले में पूरे टाइम एक्टिंग कर रहे होते हो क्या जब स्कूल जाते हो? नहीं, आधे घंटे का होता है ना, राइट? सिमिलरली इन लाइफ, द duration of the act is much longer than the half hour. For example, it's a 2.5 hour class. Right? But so we are playing a certain role on, where do you play your role in school drama? On the stage, on the what is called the front stage. तो जब आप फ्रंट स्टेज पे होते हो, यू आर वेरी कॉन्शियस, यू आर बीइंग वॉच्ड बाय द ऑडियंस. So the guy who plays Raja and the guy who plays his minister and the guy who plays the chore in that play, school play, are they chore and Raja like throughout the day? No, it is only when they are on the front stage. So that guy will become, full of himself and powerful and whatever. Then that he has to play the Raja on the front stage. Where are they different? At the backstage. बैकस्टेज क्या होता है? तो क्या वहां पे ऐसे राजा की तरह घूमता रहेगा तलवार लेके और हुक्म चलाते हुए? नहीं, उसको 2 लपेड़े पड़ेंगे, है ना? सो ही विल, so what happens is the Raja will take off his mask, give up his props, and he will chill. Yes or no? Where will he chill? On the stage, front stage? No, in the backstage. Similarly in life, friends, how is the, during that half an hour duration of play when you are in school or college, does it take up too much from you in terms of energy and attention? It can be quite demanding to play that role when the spotlight is on you or when you are on the front stage. Quite like in life. In life also, friends, playing these various roles on the front stage, using props, appropriate costumes, etc., it can be quite exhausting. So what do? We get tired. Then where do we relax? At the backstage. In the backstage, what do we do, friends? बिल्कुल शेक्सपियर आइडिया है बेटे. On the backstage, what do? We let our hair down, metaphorically, right? We relax, we chill, we take off our masks, we keep aside the props and just be ourselves, so to speak. So while in the role of a teacher, I have to be, I have to play the part that I am this all-knowing kind of a guy, full of knowledge and blah blah. तो क्या घर में भी मैं यही होता हूं? कतई नहीं. घर में मैं क्या होता हूं? I am completely non-teacher. Are you with me? Because I am chilling, or I am not on the front stage, so I am not delivering the performance which I am literally delivering here. Are you with me? So we all need those moments to energize ourselves, to relax, to feel rejuvenated. Otherwise, this continuous playing of social roles drains us. ठीक? तो वो होता है backstage. कभी कभी social life में, quite like on stage, हमें हो जाती है embarrassment. Embarrassment हो जाती है. Have you ever been embarrassed on stage? It's a very horrible, it's not a thing you would like to be repeated ever. It could be on the, seemingly minutest of things, but उस time लगता है भैया क्या blunder. Yes or no? Why that happens is because, we are trying to maintain a certain face. We are trying to, face matlab we are trying to project a certain image. For example, if you are playing Raja and whatever, Raja and Praja, and the Praja playing guy has a slip of tongue, he says, "Bataun tujhe." Then he'll be what? He'll be embarrassed. Because in that moment he forgot that they're in that character of Raja and Praja, and he slipped out of character, and that is not something that the audience would accept. So he'll be what? He'll be flushed with embarrassment because he'll feel he has lost face. In other words, people no more see him as the character that he was playing, as Praja. Are you with me? Similarly in life, we all are trying to project a certain face or an image before our audiences. In order to face, samajh gaye, a certain image that we want, a certain way we want people to see us. That's the face. To maintain that face, friends, we all engage in what Goffman calls impression management. We all do what? Impression management. Impression management matlab we try to, if I may dare use that word, manipulate or somewhat tone down, manage how other people see us, what impression other people carry of us. That is impression management. Are you with me? We do that on stage. Everything we are doing, चाहे वो costume हो, चाहे props हो, चाहे dialogue delivery हो, जो भी है, it is for impression management. I want to give the audience the impression I am Raja. If I'm playing the role of a Raja, the guy who's playing the Rank, he wants to give the impression to the audience that he is Rank. Yes or no? So stage fate is completely about impression management, and quite so also in real social world. So I want you, while I'm teaching you, I want you to carry home a certain impression of me. A certain impression of me. And whatever I'm doing is geared towards framing that impression in your mind. Be it the clothes that I wear, be it the way I speak, be it the books that I carry, or the way I conduct myself, the acting part. Are you with me? It is for the audience to carry a certain impression of the actor. So I want my audiences to see me as a certain kind of teacher. Not all teachers are same. Some teachers may want to give the impression that they are very approachable. Other teachers might give off this, sense that I am beyond you. I mean, I'm a busy guy and don't waste my time. Legit. Depends on the actor what kind of impression he wants to convey to the audience. So the guy who wants to come across as approachable, he might behave in or look or whatever in a different way than the guy who wants to come across as unapproachable. The unapproachable guy, for instance, he will be somewhat more distant in his demeanor. He may try to come across as more busy. So he'll continuously look at this watch. Yaar, yahan jana hai. Are you with me? Why? Because we are all doing what? Impression management. So as a teacher, or I as an individual, I want my audiences to carry a certain impression of me in terms of what kind of a teacher I am, what kind of a son I am. घर में भी roles होते हैं. घर में अगर 2 या 3 बेटे हैं, उनके भी अलग अलग रोल्स होते हैं. आपके स्कूल में या कॉलेज में एक फ्रेंड्स का ग्रुप है, उनमें भी अलग अलग रोल्स होंगे. एक रोल होगा स्टूडियस बॉय या गर्ल का, वो उसके हिसाब से प्रॉप्स पहनेगा, चश्मा एंड द वर्क्स, ऑलवेज विद बुक्स, अटेंडिंग. तो उसकी परफॉर्मेंस अलग होगी. फ्रंट स्टेज पे या क्लासरूम में वो सबसे आगे बैठेगा. दूसरा होगा द क्लास क्लाउन, फनी गाय, नेवर अ गर्ल समहाउ, बट फनी गाय जो कैरेक्टर होता है क्लास में. यस और नो? So he will be doing some sort of antics. His performance is very different. He will not be seen with books or chashma perhaps. He'll be seen with playthings and, doing some sort of mischief with other people's bags and tiffins and throwing chalk at the teacher and so on and so forth, which is very different from the role of the sports guy. So he'll be, with the sports bag and the works. Are you with me? So ये सब क्या है? Different roles हैं, and through using various techniques, using our language, dialogue delivery, props, attire, and the whole act, we are all engaging in impression management. Embarrassment होती है when we lose face. That is when we get embarrassed. In other words, I'm trying to project a certain image, and I think I'm doing a reasonably good job at it, but then I goof up. फौपा हो जाता है मुझसे, गलती हो जाती है of some sort. Are you with me? हमें embarrassment कब होती है? For example, you are in a very elite kind of a gathering. ठीक है? Say you have been called to the Vigyan Bhavan for felicitation by the Prime Minister, Services Day. And then this very formal attire with your hair neatly, this thing, you fart. What will happen? You will feel embarrassed because you were trying to come across as this very formal and, young and energetic and bright civil servant, and then you farted. See, a fart in itself is not always embarrassing. We all do. We all do. But we manage it. In the sense, for example, if you get the urge to do so in a public setting, you will try to do it without any noise, accompanying noise. And if you do that, manage that successfully, you will feel that it's passed. Right? People didn't get to know that I did it, and it just got mixed in the air. And it, so that you have saved yourself from embarrassment because your face or your public image has remained untarnished because of that act. This is what impression management. You don't feel embarrassed when you fart at home. You do so very frequently with your family members and without a hitch. So in a family, when you are with parents and siblings, you do so unabashedly. Kya dikkat hai? Bodily process, and we do it. But in a certain context, when you are playing another kind of a role, that of a young, guy embarking on this wonderful career, वहां पे embarrassing हो जाता है. Yes or no? तो जब भी जो हम communicate करना चाहते हैं, image, और कुछ goof up जो हो जाता है, we won't embarrass ourselves deliberately, but it happens, right? For whatever reasons. ठीक है? अब तो क्या होता है? Embarrassment होता है. तो हम embarrassment avoid करना चाहते हैं, face को maintain करना चाहते हैं, impression को manage करना चाहते हैं, और ये सब हम कहां करते हैं? कौन सा स्टेज? फ्रंट स्टेज पे करते हैं. और बैक स्टेज पे we be ourselves. ये बैक स्टेज क्या होता है जीवन का? Where you are comfortable. घर में भी आप रोल्स प्ले करते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, घर में you play the role of a good boy or a good girl, or you play the role of a angry boy. Yes or no? ये मेरा गुस्सेले वाला बच्चा है, ये मेरा शांत बच्चा है. And these are roles that you tend to play. But sometimes you are quite comfortable. You feel, comfortable in your own skin with certain kind of people. It may be with a sibling. It may be with a parent. Or best. Nahi. Alone. No pretensions. No masks. No props required. तो जब हम ऑफिस जाते हैं, हम कैसे शानदार कपड़े पहन के जाते हैं. It's a part of impression management. और घर में भिखारी लगते हैं। क्यों? देयर वी डोंट हैव टू प्रोजेक्ट एन इमेज और डू एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ इंप्रेशन मैनेजमेंट। यस और नो? तो एकदम ढीले बट कंफर्टेबल कपड़े हम पहनते हैं घर पे, पुराने पहनते हैं, पुराने पता नहीं क्यों ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल होते हैं। क्यों? वहां हमें इंप्रेशन मैनेजमेंट नहीं करने की आवश्यकता है, वो हमारा बैक स्टेज ऑफ लाइफ है। आर यू विद मी? ये है अर्विंग गॉफमैन की ड्रामा टर्जी। ठीक, डू वी नीड अ ब्रेक और द ब्रेक थिंग इज डन? We'll take a 2 minutes or a 1 minute pause. Let's call it that. And the next act after this 1 minute or 2 minute break. Yes, he plays the role of a Jigyasu Balak. बताइए बेटे। क्या? नहीं, एक्टर्स के टर्म्स में बोलता है कि हम सब एक्टर्स हैं, पूरी दुनिया एक स्टेज है और हम सब एक्टर्स हैं, अपने अपने रोल्स निभा रहे हैं। रोल नहीं, रोल्स मल्टीपल। चले जीवन में आगे। चलिए, दिस इज वेयर वी कम टू द रियली दिमाग खराब करने वाला पार्ट। ये और इसके अगला सेगमेंट, दो चीजें हैं। लेट्स सी आज क्या क्या हो जाता है। यहां तक तो मैनेजेबल था। नाउ वी डिस्कस फिनोमिनोलॉजी एंड एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी। Now, this approach, phenomenology and ethnomethodology, they are in very stark contrast to the positivist view of society. Positivists or structural theorists see what? There is a clear, well defined, objective social reality which can be captured using scientific methods and procedures. In contrast, phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists क्या कहते हैं? There is no objective social reality. There is no objective social reality. All reality, what we consider to be real, it is only a perceived reality. हमें लगता है कि ये सत्य है, पर सत्य तो कुछ है ही नहीं. There is no सत्य. Any reality is a perception of reality. It is not a concrete or a given reality. तो साइंटिफिक मेथड तो भूल ही जाओ. It's in the realm of a philosophy or a view of the world, how you perceive the world. For example, what is the color of the leaves of a tree? What is the color? Green. Are the leaves of the tree really green? Or you see them as green? समझते हो? वो असली में हरे हैं या आपको लगता है कि वो हरे हैं? आपको लगता है. हाँ. In other words, can they be not green also? How can they be not green? Why did you say कि आपको लगता है? Sorry, brother. स्नेक्स को येलो लगते हैं. साफ बात है, कुछ वो होता है उसका क्लोरोफिल वोरोफिल, ठीक है, और उसमें वेवलेंथ वगैरह कुछ पड़ती बढ़ती हैं. फिर हमारी आंख में कुछ कोन पोन होते हैं, उसका एक इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक स्पेक्ट्रम होता है जिसका पोर्शन हम परसीव कर सकते हैं एज ह्यूमन बीइंग्स. तो वो हमें हरा दिखता है. Yes or no? Green cones कुछ एक्टिवेट हो जाते हैं या whatever it is. My science is poor, but the broad funda is correct. But other animals, other creatures will see it in a different color. Yes or no? For example, बहुत सारे insects को, bees को bluish सा tinge दिखता है. जो हमें green दिखता है ना, पेड़ का पत्ता, वो कईयों को bluish दिखता है. Cats and dogs को brown color का दिखता है. ब्राउन कलर का दिखता है. Are you with me? बर्ड्स को वैरायटीज ऑफ ग्रीन दिखता है. आपको वो वन ग्रीन दिखता है. Are you with me? उनके लिए वो एक कलर नहीं है, उनके लिए वो 50 कलर है विद अ टिंज ऑफ रेड और दिस और दैट. तो वो ग्रीन है क्या? क्या ये एक ऑब्जेक्टिव इनकॉन्ट्रोवर्टिबल ट्रूथ है? नहीं, ये एक परसेप्शन ऑफ रियलिटी है. ठीक है ना? दिस इज अ नॉन सोशल वर्ल्ड एग्जांपल just to get the point across, but the argument is the same. Things are not real or true in themselves. They are real only to the extent they are perceived to be real. जॉन एलिया बन गए सर आप? क्या है ये? व्हाट इज जॉन एलिया? कोई शायर का नाम है? कौन सी भाषा का शायर है ये? उर्दू का. अच्छा, थैंक यू बेटे. तो पॉइंट इज दैट all reality is perceived reality. तो मैं टीचर हूं या यू सी मी एज अ टीचर, यू परसीव मी एज अ टीचर. ये रिमोट है, या ये आपको रिमोट लगता है? यू लाइक सर ये ज्यादा हो गया. हाउ डू यू डिनाई दिस? नहीं, दिस इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट इन फिनोमिनोलॉजी. ये आपको लगता है कि ये रिमोट है. नहीं नहीं, असली में नहीं बेटा, कुछ असलियत है ही नहीं ना, यही तो समझिए. ये लड़का है, आपको लगता है कि ये लड़का है, बट द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस कि सर हम सबको लगता है कि आप टीचर हो, हम सबको लगता है ये लड़का है, हम सबको लगता है ये रिमोट है, तो क्या ये परम सत्य या इनकॉन्ट्रोवर्टिबल ऑब्जेक्टिव ट्रूथ या रियलिटी नहीं हुई? दैट इज द क्वेश्चन व्हिच अराइजेस. व्हाई वी सेइंग दिस इज अ परसेप्शन ऑफ रियलिटी? Phenomenologists say, see, we are in our everyday lives. Human beings, we are bombarded with numerous stimuli, multiple phenomena. We see, hear, experience, smell, etc. इसीलिए नाम phenomenology, study of phenomena. हम अनेकों फिनोमिना एक्सपीरियंस और सी और हियर वगैरह करते हैं. We need to make some sense of this phenomena. We need to make some sense of these numerous phenomena. तो हम क्या करते हैं? We undertake what phenomenologists call typification. Classification मतलब, typification simply means to classify into appropriate categories. Typification का मतलब क्या है? We classify things into appropriate categories. For example, हमने now हर इंडिविजुअल अलग है, but we need to make sense of these numerous people that we meet in life. So we typify or classify them as men and women. ठीक? हमने क्या किया? लोगों को, अब मैं और ये हम तीनों पांचों छहों बहुत अलग अलग आदमी हैं, हमारा रंग रूप अलग है, 100 डिफरेंसेस हैं हमें, है कि नहीं? बट हमने इनको सबको क्लासिफाई कर दिया, क्या है ये? मेन. ये क्या है? विमेन. हमने क्लासिफाई कर दिया ये हैं, और मेन और विमेन ये सब क्या है? ह्यूमंस. वो क्या है? एनिमल्स. वो क्या है? प्लांट्स. मेन और ह्यूमंस एंड एनिमल्स एंड प्लांट्स ये सब क्या है? लिविंग थिंग्स या लिविंग बीइंग्स. और ये क्या है? टेबल, चेयर, ये सब नॉन लिविंग बीइंग्स. ये सब क्या है? क्लासिफिकेशन स्कीम्स या टाइपिफिकेशन है. आर यू विद मी? तो हम चीजों को नीटली लेबल करना चाहते हैं, जबकि फिनोमेना जो है बहुत डाइवर्स और मल्टीपल है. मेरे और इनमें, हम दोनों को आप मैन मानते हो, but we are very very different persons in every which way. But these typifications have been developed, and then we applied them to the world around us to make sense of it. Are you with me? Now, so what is happening? The fact, or what you consider the objective truth, that he is a man, this is it is a perception of reality, but it is a shared perception. मतलब आप भी मानते हो कि ये मैन है, आप भी मानते हो, आप भी मानते हो, मैं भी मानता हूं, मैं भी मानता हूं, मैं भी मानता हूं. पर इसका मतलब क्या ये हो गया कि ये परम सत्य या ऑब्जेक्टिव ट्रूथ है कि ये मैन है या ये टीचर है? ऑब्जेक्टिव ट्रूथ नहीं है. ये हम सबकी शेयर्ड अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि ये फलाना मैन है या टीचर है या दूध वाला है. यस और नो? आपके चेहरे में मुझे ब्लैंकनेस सी दिख रही है कि सर मजा नहीं आया. मतलब आप बाल की खाल उतार रहे हो. बात तो वही है, बात नहीं है. आप समझिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ब्रदर, व्हाट्स योर टेक? हाउ डू यू लाइक, how do you find Katrina Kaif? Do you think she's beautiful or attractive? What about you? Do you find Katrina Kaif beautiful and attractive? What about you? What about you? What about you? Can we then say all these people, and I also find Katrina Kaif as beautiful and attractive, can we then say this is an objective truth? That Katrina Kaif is beautiful and attractive? Is it an objective truth? No. ये क्या है? हमारी परसेप्शन है, दो शेयर्ड परसेप्शन है. Are you with me? Similarly, a person as a teacher, as a man, as a XYZ, these are all shared perceived realities and not an objective truth. Now, how do we come to this shared understanding? क्यों सब मानते हो कि मैं टीचर हूं? कोई भी मुझे नहीं कहता कि ये तो दूध वाला है या ये अकाउंटेंट है. Yes or no? क्यों? How did you, if it is how an individual perceives it, then how can so many individuals have the same perception or a shared perception? So, society has taught us. How it is taught us? Teacher क्या होता है? So, society has taught us कि एक teacher जो हमने लेबल दिया है टीचर का, मैन का, XYZ का, what a teacher means. Society has taught us through language. Through language. So, भाषा का इस्तेमाल करके समाज ने हमें बताया है टीचर जो होता है, जो पढ़ाता है, जो जिसके पास ज्ञान होता है, जो आपके डाउट्स क्लियर करता है, जो आपकी कॉपी चेक करता है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. सो लैंग्वेज प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, क्योंकि जो क्लासिफिकेशन है वो लैंग्वेज पे ही बेस्ड होती है. लैंग्वेज पे ही बेस्ड होती है. ये बावलापन है फिनोमिनोलॉजी का. Can we say objective truth is absolute? There is no objective or absolute truth. These theories are part of which unit of paper 1? Second or third? ठीक है? Second or third? Beautiful but married? अच्छा, Katrina Kaif. ठीक है? So we share these typifications or these classificatory schemes through language. ठीक है? अब आ जाओ एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी पे. Ethnomethodology is a step forward from phenomenology. Phenomenology एक philosophy है, एक view of world and reality है, which was developed in Europe. एक स्कट्स करके, अल्फ्रेड स्कट्स करके फिलोसफर हैं, उनकी राइटिंग्स में उभर के आई थी. एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी क्या है? वो फिनोमिनोलॉजी का बच्चा है. एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी फिनोमिनोलॉजी का बच्चा है इन दी सेंस ethnomethodologists accept the premise of phenomenology, or in even simpler words, ethnomethodologists are phenomenologists. एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी एक सोशियोलॉजी में थ्योरी है. फिनोमिनोलॉजी एक ब्रॉडर फिलॉसफी है जो मानती है कोई सत्य होता नहीं है, सत्य वो है जिसको हम सत्य मान लेते हैं. इसके बेस पे जो सोशियोलॉजिकल थ्योरी आई है उसको बोलते हैं एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी. ये आई है फ्रॉम द पेन ऑफ हैरोल्ड गारफिंकल. Harold Garfinkel. I'm being asked to explain typification again, very briefly, Atirek. These are concepts or categories that we develop in which we classify the various phenomena that we come across. ठीक है? जो लेबल्स हम चीजों पे लगा देते हैं वो टाइपिफिकेशन है. खैर, coming back to ethnomethodology or ethnomethodologists like Garfinkel, they were inspired from the phenomenological philosophy. But they don't just stop there. They are one with phenomenologists when they see that there is no objective social reality. All reality is perceived. But then what do you do as sociologists? How do you study the society? अगर कुछ रियल ही नहीं है तो हम क्या करें? जॉब छोड़ दें as sociologists. तो हमें क्या करना चाहिए as sociologists? वो ethnomethodology बताती है हमें क्या करनी चाहिए. Ethnomethodology, which means what? Ethnos means people. Ethnos का मतलब होता है people. Logy का मतलब होता है study of. और ये method. So what should we do? We should study the methods used by the people to construct their social reality. Sociological research का काम क्या है? Purpose क्या है? To study the methods that people use to construct their social reality. So how do people मतलब common people, ordinary people, normal members, we are not talking about sociologists or academicians or anything of that sort. How do ordinary people, ordinary members of the society construct their social reality? In other words, how do they see things the way they do? How do people, how do you, tell me, forget, don't be a sociologist, as a normal member of society, how do you construct your reality? किसी को माता पिता मानते हो, किसी को टीचर मान लेते हो, किसी को अच्छा मान लेते हो, किसी को बुरा मान लेते हो, किसी को लालची मान लेते हो, किसी को जेनरस मान लेते हो, किसी को अमीर मान लेते हो, किसी को गरीब मान लेते हो, किसी को हिंदू और मुसलमान मान लेते हो. कैसे, क्या इस्तेमाल करते हो? सॉरी, वंडरफुल कॉमन सेंस. हमारी आधी नैया पार हो जाए जीवन में अगर हम उसका पूर्ण इस्तेमाल कर लें. कॉमन सेंस. इन आवर एवरीडे लाइफ वी यूज कॉमन सेंस. वी यूज आवर पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस. तो क्यों हम इसको आदमी मानते हैं? क्योंकि अभी तक जीवन में जिसके भी दाढ़ी होती है, मूंछ होती है, भारी आवाज होती है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, उसको हमें बताया गया था वो आदमी होता है. आर यू विद मी? तो हम अपनी कॉमन सेंस, और मैं पहले बहुत लोगों से मिला हूं और मिली हूं, और हमने क्या देखा था? वो सब क्या थे जिनके पास ये सब था? आदमी थे. तो इसलिए हमने कह दिया तुम भी क्या हो? आदमी हो. हमने अपना कॉमन सेंस का यूज किया, हमने अपने पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस का यूज किया, और हमें जो लैंग्वेज ने सिखाया है, जो क्लासिफिकेटरी स्कीम या कॉन्सेप्ट सिखाए हैं, उनका इस्तेमाल किया. ठीक. तो एज अ सोशियोलॉजिस्ट आप क्या करोगे? अगर आपको देखना है कि लोग अपनी रियलिटी कैसे कंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहे हैं। आप उनको उनकी ऑर्डिनरी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में ऑब्जर्व करोगे। यू विल ऑब्जर्व देम इन देयर डेली लाइफ, परफॉर्मिंग देयर ऑर्डिनरी रूटीन एक्टिविटीज। सोशल कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ रियलिटी कोई बहुत फंटास्टिक या ग्लैमरस चीज नहीं है। इट इज इन द एवरीडे एंड द ऑर्डिनरी that we are constructing our, we matlab ordinary people, we are constructing our social realities. Now ethnomethodology में there are two important concepts. एक होता है इंडेक्सिकलिटी। चलो पहले एक से ही शुरू करते हैं। एक होता है इंडेक्सिकलिटी। इंडेक्स शब्द का अर्थ क्या होता है? फॉरगेट सोशियोलॉजी। इंडेक्स कहीं देखा है? कहां देखा है? बुक के पहले इंडेक्स होता है। क्या होता है उस इंडेक्स का? हम क्या करते हैं? हाँ, तो मान लीजिए आपको कोई वर्ड ढूंढना है, सोशियोलॉजी में नहीं समझ आया, अनोमी, एलिनेशन, तो आपने हरलंबोस एंड हॉलबोर्न उठा ली मोटी सी। अब उसमें कहां ढूंढोगे भैया एलिनेशन? इतनी मोटी 1000 पन्ने की किताब है, तो क्या पूरी किताब पढ़ोगे? नहीं। आप कहां जाओगे? इंडेक्स में जाओगे। वहां पे होगा ए से एलिनेशन, जो लिखा होगा वहां पे पेज नंबर 3, पेज नंबर 42, पेज नंबर 159 पे इस शब्द का यूज है। फिर आप क्या करोगे? आप उस पेज पे जाओगे और वो वर्ड पढ़ोगे एलिनेशन और खुश हो जाओगे। फिर कैसे समझोगे मीनिंग? You will understand the meaning of the word in the context in which it is mentioned. पूरा पैरा पढ़ोगे and from that context you will decipher the meaning. ये तो है नहीं वहां पे ये लिखा होगा एलिनेशन, डेफिनेशन ये होती है। पैरा में यूज हो रहा है वो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एलिनेशन, तो आप पूरा पैरा या 2-3 पैरास पढ़ोगे एंड फ्रॉम दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट यू विल डिसाइफर और इंटरप्रेट द और डिराइव द मीनिंग ऑफ दैट वर्ड एलिनेशन. That is how, I'm not even talking sociology yet, that is how we use an index in any book. You find the word in the index, you go to the pages where that word finds mention, and then you read it in context, and then that is how you understand the meaning. Similarly in social life, friends, we understand or interpret, we matlab ordinary people, not sociologists, ordinary people, we understand the meaning of anything in context. In context. कोई भी चीज का अर्थ डिपेंड करेगा कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्या है. Yes or no? So as ordinary human beings also, we refer to our past experience, we refer to our common stock of knowledge, we link the present thing which needs to be interpreted based on that, given the current context and what the past tells us about it. For example, if somebody gives you a compliment that you're looking nice, that you are looking nice today, how will you interpret this? क्या मतलब है इसका? अगर आपको किसी ने बोला कि आप आज अच्छे लग रहे हैं, इसका क्या मीनिंग निकालेंगे? बताइए ना. तो ये मीनिंग निकाल रहे हैं कि इसको काम क्या है, मुझे तो आज तक किसी ने बोला नहीं राइट फिर ये मेरे को क्यों बोल रहा है, तो इन्होंने अपने पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस के बेसिस पे ये सोचा, एंड इनका पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस शायद ये भी कहता है, और ही हैज बीन सो टॉट दैट व्हेन पीपल आर ओवरली नाइस टू यू, then that means they are trying to derive something from you. What about you, Bitya? How will you interpret, or what meaning you derive from this if somebody tells you that you're looking very nice? क्या तात्पर्य या अर्थ निकालेंगे इससे? क्यों बोल रही है? But it could be very well be that you are looking nice. Why are you doubtful about it? Brother? कौन बोल रहा है डिपेंड करेगा? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ इट इज योर गर्लफ्रेंड और बॉयफ्रेंड who does frequently compliment you on your looks, you will take it in that spirit. But if it is a colleague at work, you might interpret that to mean very differently, as an unwarranted advance. Yes or no? If it's in a professional setting, and it seems out of place. क्यों आपने इंडेक्स किया जीवन में, यार कभी किसी ने नहीं बोला, एंड ऐसे कैसे बोल सकता है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. यस और नो? बहुत सारी चीजें आप इंडेक्स करोगे, आप देखोगे. सो इफ ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर डे, in your own eyes you are looking pathetic and you are complimented or looking very very ordinary, that आज तो बड़े अच्छे लग रहे हो, you will take it as a taunt. Yes or no? ये तो नीचा दिखाने की साक्षात कोशिश है, sarcasm है ना? So it depends on the context. किसी भी सेम चीज का मीनिंग variously इंटरप्रेट होगा depending on the context. This is indexicality, and we do it every day. On a daily basis, we put things in context and then interpret their meaning. अगर आपको सेम जेंडर का पर्सन बोल रहा है या ऑपोजिट जेंडर का बोल रहा है, उसका मीनिंग अलग आप इंटरप्रेट करेंगे. क्लोज, somebody who has a close relationship with you वो बोल रहा है, या somebody who's a distant or stranger बोल रहा है, अलग इंटरप्रेट करोगे. खुद की नजरों में कैसे, so many factors. So it depends on the context, how the meaning of anything is understood. Clear? दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट है रिफ्लेक्सिविटी का. ये भी कौन यूज करता है, सोशियोलॉजिस्ट या ऑर्डिनरी पीपल? ऑर्डिनरी पीपल. एथनोमेथोडोलॉजिस्ट क्या कहते हैं? Things don't really make sense. Things don't have any inherent meaning, but we seek meaning. We need meaning. There is no clear pattern or order in our lives, but we crave order. We crave meaning. There is no inherent meaning. Things aren't meaningful in or by themselves, but we as human beings, we need, we seek, we crave order and meaning in our lives. So what do? We create meaning. We create meaning even though it doesn't really exist. We try to make sense of things. Why is it called reflexivity? Because we reflect upon things and try to get them to make sense. A little too abstract. There was a very practical, wonderful experiment conducted which demonstrated this reflexivity of people. So it was an experiment in counseling, student counseling, something you may perhaps be able to relate to. So in a university, several students, they were invited for counseling sessions. What the experiment was, they were invited for counseling sessions. These counseling sessions were conducted over the phone. So it was not like a face-to-face interaction. The students were told that you can ask any questions on any set of topics. It could be about career, personal life, relationships, anything. But there's one limitation, that the counselor will only respond to your questions in yes or no. In yes or no. They will not give you elaborate inputs or anything. Okay? Now, the students went for those sessions, conducted over phone. They discussed, काफी लंबी लंबी 10 मिनट, कोई 20 मिनट, कोई आधा घंटा बात करते हैं काउंसलर से. And most of them were very satisfied with the responses of the, and the, whatever suggestions were offered by the counselors. What the students were not told, the counselor was not a human being who was listening to their questions or problems. It was a programmed machine which was randomly throwing out yes and no responses. Are you with me? So there was really no sense in the responses of the counselor. But the students wanted those responses to make sense. So they made some sense in those what were really nonsensical responses. Are you with me? तो उसमें प्री प्रोग्राम्ड होगा, वो बोलेगा yes no yes yes no 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 yes no, चाहे वो कुछ बोले. तो अगर बच्चा बोल रहा है कि मैं पढ़ाई में नहीं कॉन्सेंट्रेट कर पा रहा ड्यू टू रिलेशनशिप इश्यूज, should I, this relationship is very demanding, should I move on? Yes. But I'm very attached to her, she's an emotional anchor in my life, and there are days when I cannot this thing, so I'm thinking of staying. No. Random responses, and they found those responses to be making perfect sense. Kyun? Because we want sense in our life. We want meaning. We need order. So we create it where none exists. ये तो हो गई experiment की बात. In day-to-day life, we do this. Reflexivity, where we create meaning, though it does not exist in conversations. When we talk. जब हम बात कर रहे होते हैं. Now, how does social interaction takes place? Through talking. We talk to each other. When we talk to each other, we do what? We try to make sense of what the other guy is saying. It may not be clear to us. He may not have articulated it well enough. Are you with me? But we somewhat, जोड़ तोड़ के, we make sense of it. कि हाँ शायद ये कह रहा है, and accordingly then we respond. Then what the other guy does? He tries to make some sense of our response and responds. Are you with me? समझ आया? This is a classic example of reflexivity. आपको नहीं आया, but you made some sense कि कुछ तो बोल गया. पिछले 5-10 मिनट से एक आध एग्जाम्पल भी दिया. Perhaps शायद मोटा मोटी this means that. ये क्या है? Reflexivity. ठीक है? तो ये होती है रिफ्लेक्सिविटी. हम इंडेक्सिकलिटी और रिफ्लेक्सिविटी यूज करते हैं इन आवर डेली लाइफ्स. ठीक? तो क्या करें? समय की सीमा और कोर्स का भार. आज तो वो बिटिया भी नहीं है जिनको पर्टिकुलरली वो होता है. But today I have a thing, yaar. Actually, that is the thing. Today I have a thing, so I'll think, but I'm not done. Can I teach something within 3 minutes? Two odd minutes. नहीं, वो तो है, मेरे सामने है और ये है. आई एम जस्ट अनेबल टू मेक अप माई माइंड. गिव मी अ मोमेंट. नहीं, कंटिन्यू करते हैं. ठीक है, चलिए. थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. क्या मैगी? अच्छा, चलिए, थैंक यू.